We call this our retirement masterclass because our motto here at DPS is educate and empower people. If you heard me say it, educate and empower people so you guys can make better decisions with your hard-earned money. And we do these masterclasses twice a month at all different libraries across the Morris, Essex County areas. And we're trying to educate and get our word across. What you guys were watching is a TV show that I do. It's broadcast on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on New Jersey 12 Network. So if you have Optimum Cable, I believe it's channel 61. And if you have Verizon, it's channel 530. If you don't have those two cable companies, we also have these programs on our website, dpsadvisors.net. All of our recorded shows are on there. Recently, about the last 2 months, we run the show on CW11, New York, Channel 11, every other Saturday night at 6:30 after the local news. The Papa Report's on there as well. So we educate, we empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. I'm sure tonight is not the first event you guys got invited to, all right? I've been doing this a really long time. We used to do the Roots Chris dinners and all that stuff and give a steak, and we got tired of doing that because people were there more for the steak than they were for the information. So we like to do it with smaller groups because less people come, because we're not offering you a steak dinner. I mean, they didn't even give you a bottle of water, right? We want to educate you, talk about finances, and when we have smaller groups like this, we can allow you guys to interact with us. Ask questions, okay? If we have a group of 30, 35 people and we're in a steakhouse, you know, you can't really get to know anybody or ask any questions. But tonight, there's a few of us here. We're by ourselves in the Roseland Library. We're gonna hit our material. We're gonna not keep you too long, but I want you to ask questions. Raise your hand, we'll stop what we're doing and answer any question that you have. If we feel like, we're going a little long, then I'll stop the questions and we'll answer them for you afterwards. We're gonna be here afterwards to stay as long as you like, okay? So with that, if you can just do me a favor, please turn off your cell phones. I'll shut mine off because they start buzzing and beeping. It's a little bit of a distraction. So sit back, enjoy. We're gonna educate you, we're gonna empower you so you can make better decisions with your hard-earned money. This is not a sales pitch. This is not, hey, we're pitching some product or anything. We're just gonna educate you. We're gonna offer you, because it's an educational class, we are gonna offer you at the end of the presentation, come into our office in Roseland. We'll talk about what's going on with your situation, why you came here on a Tuesday night in what seems like winter now. All of a sudden it's winter, and we didn't offer you any food. So we're going to offer you that. You can take us up on it. You also heard me talk a lot about being stress-free. I am a big believer in that. You were not going to be sold anything. You could just come in, talk about what's going on. If we can help you, great. If not, no big deal, no harm, no foul. But we're going to educate you, okay? So we have to put this up here. You probably can't see it because I can barely see it from here. But this is important because the lawyers make us put this up here. It's a notification of compliance so that we're not selling anything to you guys. Don't take any of our recommendations or our conversation tonight and go act on it without actually sitting with a licensed fiduciary and to make your decision. So don't act on anything, you know, based on what you're seeing tonight or hearing tonight, okay? It has to be up there for 3 minutes. I think that's 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, we go back.
Good, we're good. All right. So, you know, why'd you accept the invitation? Why'd you come to Roseland on a Tuesday night in the winter, and even though it's not winter, and come and listen to John Papa, Ted Fury, Luke Papa from DPS Advisors, okay? This is why I started this practice 38 years ago with my dad. I got into this business because I learned a lot about money when I was a younger kid. Most people think, oh, if I work with a financial advisor, the advisor's rich, they only work with wealthy people. I didn't come from that. I grew up in this town in Roseland. My parents, we had a one bathroom house for 6 people. And I learned about money early on, so I'm gonna play a short video about why I actually got into this business.
I come from a very wealthy family. My dad struggled as a beautician. My mom never worked, and we had 4 kids living in a 1-bathroom house. My first memory of money was when I was in grammar school, and I'll never forget, lunch was 50 cents, and my father would give my older brother the dollar and I would have to meet him in the hallway and get the 50 cents change so I can buy lunch. So that's when I realized how hard it is to earn and how you have to respect the value of the dollar. Because I want my clients to know that the value of money is important to them and it's important to me. When I'm working with their dollars, I tell them, I understand this is your hard-earned money that you worked your whole life to earn. And we're gonna do the best we can to protect our assets. And that we appreciate the trust they're giving us, and we don't take that for granted. I think what sets us apart is I communicate with my clients regularly, and I think that is the key to a client-advisor relationship. And we have that open door kind of policy in our practice that they know if there's a question, they call my office, they can come in for a cup of coffee, and we'll get that question answered, and they have access to me at pretty much any time they want. I don't think there's one set answer what retirement should look like. I think it's different for every individual that comes into your door. It really depends on the person, what their vision of retirement is. I get great satisfaction of helping retirees live out their retirement life and designing and implementing strategies for them and helping them reach their goals. When I started this business with my dad in 1986, I never thought it would get to the point where we are today where we're impacting people's lives in a positive note. I'm actually seeing where my kids have taken an interest in taking over this business with me as well. It's something I created with my dad 30 years ago and something that hopefully will be around for another 30, 40 years when my kids are running it. I inform and empower people to make better decisions with their hard-earned money so they can enjoy their retirement life, enjoy their retirement goals. I just help them through the process and implement a retirement income plan that allows them to do what they want. That's what I do.
That's an actual older video. I recorded that, I think, 10, 12 years ago. So that was an old picture of our office. We've now moved into a nice office space in Roseland, right on Eisenhower Parkway. With me here tonight is my son Luke, who's going to be the third generation of DPS advisors. We're pretty psyched about that. And my dad and I always talked about, a legacy plan and who's going to take over the business. And I have an older daughter and a niece and nephew, and they weren't really interested in it. But Luke joined up after he graduated from college. My dad had passed, so he didn't know Luke was coming in, but I'm sure he knows, now he sees. And this is my brother-in-law, Ted. He's a financial advisor, started working with us about 6-8 months ago. All three of us are licensed fiduciaries, which means we have your best interest over our own at all times. We're regulated by the SEC and FINRA, who are the regulatory bodies inside. So any decision that we talk to you about or any decision you're going to make, we have to explain the pros and cons of those decisions and those financial tools that we would introduce to you. So working with a licensed, I'll get into it a little bit more during the presentation, what a licensed fiduciary actually does. But if you have a financial advisor or you don't, and you're going to work with one, you want to make sure they're licensed fiduciaries. There's only two kinds, certified financial planner or a registered investment advisor. So if your advisor's telling you they are, you ask them which one, and if they're not one of them, they're not telling you the truth, okay? And I say that not to be mean, but it took us a lot of work to become a licensed fiduciary. So advisors are out there telling people they are and they're not, kind of pisses me off. So, any questions about that? You can cut that part out, right? Out of the recording. We record all this stuff and put it out on Instagram and things like that. So sometimes they get crazy about the stuff I say. They get mad. So, being an independent licensed fiduciary, I've been asked to be on multiple shows. I've been on CNBC, MSNBC, Fox Business. My show's on WPIX. I've written articles for Benzinga, Market Watch. I was actually in the studios of New Jersey 12 Network when they did a segment on retirement and estate planning. And I was the expert advisor on the show to do a segment on this topic that we do every day, okay? 38 years working as a licensed fiduciary. We've been talking about that, so we can skip that. The Papa Report, I told you about that before. We're on News 12 New Jersey, channel 530 for Optimum, channel 61 for, Optimum's channel 61, 530 is New Jersey 12. Every other Saturday, CW 11. I also do a radio show on Sundays, 2 o'clock on 710 a.m. WOR. It's a really cool show called The Papa Report as well. It's an hour long. Wrote a book called Avoiding the Retirement Traps. Wrote that a long time ago. I'm working on another one called The Intelligent Investor, We have a podcast on it, but I'm writing another book on it, because I'm trying to tell people or educate them about, the pitfalls of having these $1 million IRAs when you're 65 years old and you're about to retire. Telling the young kids to, you know what, I don't want it in a tax-deferred account. I want it to be in a tax-free account. What's the differences between the two? So we're gonna hit a lot about that tonight, okay? So the first topic we're gonna go over tonight is about Social Security. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Again, we want you guys to be interactive tonight. We don't have a lot of people in the room. Have any questions, just raise your hand. We'll answer them for you if you have anything so far. Ted is gonna talk about Social Security, a topic that, the rules have changed, and he'll go over all that with you, and it's really important because the decision you make with Social Security could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, Ted?
Thank you, John. So, as John said, I joined the company 6 or 8 months ago, and although I've been in the financial industry for 25, 30 years, I am the new guy on the team, so I drew the short straw and was asked to talk about Social Security. Now, the bad thing is that there are 2,700 rules and regulations when it comes to Social Security, and recently in a study that the Social Security Administration did itself, about 2018, they determined that there are over 9,000 different ways that a married couple can file for Social Security. So I'm supposed to talk about all of that in 15 minutes. So wish me luck.
We're gonna be strict.
So wish me luck. But really, when it comes to Social Security, people have two main questions. The first one is, will it be there for me? When I need it, is Social Security going to be there? And the answer is yes, but. Okay, the second question is, when is the best time for me to claim or file for Social Security? At what age should I do that? And the answer for question number 2 is, it depends. So question 1 is yes, but. Question 2 is it depends. We're going to start with question 1, right? Social Security, the act was created in 1935 by FDR, right? When it was created, the full retirement age, they created at 65. And they kind of thought 60 was too young, 70 was too old, so we're going to shoot for 65. The interesting thing, though, in 1935 is that the average life expectancy was about 61 years old. For men, it was 58, 59. For women, it was about 62. So think about that. The full retirement age was 65, but most people weren't expected to live to 65. Right, so there was a lot once it started, over the course of time, there were a lot of people paying money into the Social Security pot. If you have been working for 10 years, right, they give you what's called Social Security credits for a year. Right, if you've been working full-time for 10 years, you're going to get 40 credits. That makes you qualified to receive Social Security. In order to determine how much you're going to get paid, they'll look at your highest 35-year average, and depending on what year you were born and what your age is when you take it, that's how they determine how much you're going to take from Social Security, okay? So it will be there for you, but you're going to need to determine what's the best course of action for you to take. While this is a pretty homogeneous room, right? We all, except for handsome young Luke here, we're all pretty much in the same age range, right? So everybody's looks and kind of is in the same age range, but it is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. It's one size fits one, right? So depending on whether you're married, depending on whether you're single, depending on whether you have you have parents who are still living, depending on whether you have adult children who are living with you, or if you have grandchildren that you want to take care of. Everyone's situation is clearly unique. Some things to think about here, right? When can you file? The minimum age is 62. The full retirement age now, as of 2015, you'll notice the full retirement age started at 65 in 1935. Here we are some 90 years later, and they've only moved the full retirement age 1 or 2 years, depending on when you were born. I was born in 1966. My full retirement age is 67 years old. All right, so the year that I was born, if you were born in 1966, the life expectancy was around 73, 74 years old, right? The life expectancy for people born in 2024 is now 77 and a half years old. For men, it's 76. For women, it's about 78. However, the good news is if you're still in this room today, right, you can expect a long life expectancy. You're probably above the average, right? But everybody, again, needs to look at your own situation. My parents are both 84 years old. They're both still living. I had a grandfather that lived to 95 years old. I'm already 58 years old. So the fact that I'm still here and I have some longevity in my family, I go to the doctor regularly, he updates me, I update him. I can expect a long life, and I need to plan for that financially, right? So it may be strange for a financial advisor to tell you to go talk to your doctor. Find out from him or her what they think. If you have any long-term care situations that you need to think about. Everybody's situation is different. Maximum age is 70, right? You can actually claim after you're 70 years old, but there is no beneficial point for doing that, right? You don't make any more money if you wait after you're 70 years old to file Social Security. The keys here, though, is if you file at your full retirement age, you get 100% of your benefit, okay? If you file early or when you're first eligible at 62, you would get about 75% of what you would have gotten had you waited till your full retirement age. All right, if you then wait till 70, you get 132% of what you would have gotten had you filed at 66 or 67. So percentage-wise, you can see you're going from 75% to 132%, and that's a monthly amount, right? And then why it gets even more important, you see COLA here, right? And it's not the cola you drink, right? It's called a cost of living adjustment. Since 1975, the average cost of living adjustment on an annual basis is 3.69%. And that's based on, if you've ever heard of the Consumer Price Index or the CPI, it depends on how the economy, how inflation is doing, how interest rates are doing. You'll see since 75, that average was 3.69. The last 20 years or so, from 2000, say 2020, it averaged about 2.15%. So that was the bump each year. But then in 2022, when you start to see prices going up, interest rates were going up, the cost of living adjustment went up to 5.9. Last year in 2023, it went as high as 8%. So it was a real big bump last year at 8%. This year, 2024, it's back down to 3.5%. And they've already announced for next year, for 2025, that we're back to 2.5%, right? As the economy's coming down, interest rates are coming down, things are cooling off. All right, you're going to see a Social Security wage tax. What does that mean, right? So in 2021, it was $142,000. In 2022, it was $147,000. For this year, in 2024, the Social Security wage tax is $168,600. And what that means is when you get your paycheck, right, and you see a deduction that goes to it'll either say Social Security or FICA. Everybody wants to know, who's this FICA guy? Who's FICA that I'm paying this 6.25% of my income to? That's the Federal Insurance Contribution Act. That's the money that goes to the Social Security Trust Fund, all right? And it's what's called a pay-as-you-go system, right? So I'm paying into the system today. What's not happening is that money sitting in the trust fund waiting for Ted Fiore to claim my benefits down the road. I am paying in today for the people who are collecting today. So last year, there were over 78 to 80 million people who collected Social Security, right? If you think about it, we had the baby boomer generation, right? So that was up till around 1964. Then you had Generation X from 65 to about 1980. And then the millennials, or Generation Y, from 1981 to 1996. I'll stop there, but everybody talks about the population of the baby boomers. Those people are starting to retire. Those people are collecting or taking their Social Security benefits now. However, what a lot of people don't know is as of 2017, Generation Y has now outpaced the baby boomers for the percentage of our population. So by 2034, 2035, we already have more people taking out than are putting in, but we're gonna have an issue when you've got baby boomers, Generation X, and Generation Y all taking money out of the trust fund. So you may hear that it's going bankrupt or it's gonna be insolvent, right? What that means is the actual trust fund, where all of that money from 1935, where people were not collecting because they were dying before they were taking it, now the trust fund is being depleted itself, right? Because there are more people taking money out. However, since there are still people paying into the system, it's never going to be bankrupt, meaning it's never not going to have any money. If Congress doesn't do anything about it, what may happen 2034, 2035 is for those people who are then going to collect, instead of receiving 100% of what they would have received, what they'll receive, say, 79 to 80% if Congress does nothing. Now, I'm going to say Congress most likely will do something, right? They can increase the tax rate of the 6.25% that I mentioned, or the Social Security wage tax up there, you'll see, for 2024, as I said, is $168,000. For 2025, it's $178,000. So if you make $200,000, if you make $500,000, if you make $1 million, for Social Security purposes, they only tax you FICA up to $168,000 for this year, $176,000 for next year. So there's a cap. As a result of the cap on what they tax you, you'll see there's a minimum benefit, a full retirement age benefit, and a maximum benefit. So at those ages of 62, today, if you were to collect, turn 62 this year, and you had maxed out, you were at the highest level that you could be, you could take a minimum benefit of $2,300 at the age of 62. If you are at your full retirement age this year, you could take $3,345, right? So you'll see there's a $1,000 difference a month if you wait till your full retirement age rather than 62. If you turn 70 this year, the maximum benefit you could get is $4,100 and $4,194, right, if you're 70 years. So on a monthly basis, it's almost $2,000 more. Now there's a break-even point, right? So, because you're going to start taking the earlier benefit at 62, full retirement age is 66 or 67, and then the maximum benefit is age 70. So there are many months, if you choose to elect early, where you're going to be getting that Social Security coming into you. So what the actuaries for the Social Security Administration say, and this is why the longevity thing comes into play, is the break-even point for between the minimum benefit and the full retirement age is about 76 or 77 years old. So when you turn 76 or 77, you will have caught up by taking the full retirement age benefit, and every month going forward there, you're now making more money than you would have. Okay? If you wait till you're 70, that break-even age is about 79 years old. All right, so once you turn 79, you are now out earning for Social Security purposes what you would have gotten had you taken the minimum benefit at 62 years old. Any questions on that? Yes.
Not on that, I have a question about COLA.
Mm-hmm.
If you retire before your full retirement age, do you still get the COLA?
The
And
COLA,
do you get it at the same percentage?
COLA, the percentage is the same, but as you can imagine, right, your cost of living adjustment, the percentage is the same, but if you wait, it's on a higher dollar amount. So 10% or 3%, just to make it easy, 5% on $1,000 compared to 5% on $2,000. The percentages sit the same, but the dollar amount is more. So you will get what everybody else gets for the earnings. Now the key thing, between 67 and 70, not only do you get the cost of living adjustment, but you get an 8% annual bump for those 3 years as well, right? So it's tough to out earn the 8% that Social Security is gonna pay you for waiting until you're 70 years old.
What
So-
was that, between ages what and what?
Between your full retirement age, whether it's 66 or 67, until the age of 70, when you can take that maximum benefit, the Social Security Administration gives you an 8% bump on top of the COLA each year, all right? So what you hear people say is, I'm gonna take my Social Security and I'm gonna invest it, and I'm gonna outpace what I could have earned had I kept my money in the Social Security account. Well, at a time when you wanna be more conservative rather than aggressive, right? And you gotta make sure that if you're gonna do that, you invest the money. A lot of people say they're gonna do it and then take the money and don't invest it, right? So it's tough to outpace what you're gonna get if you keep the money in the Social Security pot. Yes?
If someone is on disability, how does this formula apply to a person who is on disability?
So you can collect disability, I believe at age 60, is that 60?
60.
So you can begin to apply for the disability. So it's the Old Age Survivorship and Disability, it's OASDI insurance. That's the comprehensive plan, which includes retirement or old age. It includes disability and includes survivorship benefits.
Would it ever, can they choose to wait until 70?
If you're collecting disability, generally you're not collecting Social Security.
So forever continue?
You would want to take, if you're on disability and you need the money, you would take it. When you qualify for it, if you're disabled, right? So this is an example, we changed the names to protect the innocent. These are clients. So just to give you like a mathematical example of the differences that we just talked about. So Ron and Nancy are married. Now this is a kind of a common example, right?
I just wanna go back to the 8% bump.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 8% bump based on your full retirement
Yes.
monthly amount?
Yes, it is.
So it doesn't change your full retirement monthly amount? Because then the following year, would that 8% make your full retirement age bump higher?
Right.
So it's actually a little
It's
more than
8% each year
each
on
year
the bump.
because-
That's right.
Okay.
It's a different,
Just wanna make sure. I got
that's right, right.
Okay.
And the cost of living adjustment.
And then what happens at age 70? You don't get that 8% bump anymore, but you've already increased for a period of 3 years.
You get the cost of living adjustment.
Right.
Right.
You've already increased your full retirement age amount
Yes,
for 3 years
right.
by 8%.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hit age 71, say, and there's no more 8%,
Right.
are you still getting?
The cost of living
You
adjustment.
should turn on Social Security at 70. Don't wait a day
No,
longer.
I understand that. I'm wondering if I do it early. But what I'm trying to understand is, I know what you're saying, but say you get $1,000 a month at 67.
Mm-hmm.
That's your full retirement.
Right,
You get a bump of 8%, never mind COLA, I got the COLA. You get a bump
right.
of 8%, and then, so what's that?
$80.
Okay, so you're getting 1,080. So 68, the following year, you get an 8% bump on the 1,080.
Right.
So you're up a little more. Then you turn, say you get to 70 and you're up to 200, I round to 150,000, I don't know, whatever.
So $1,200 a month now, it's set.
Okay, $1,200 a month. When I turn 71, am I still collecting $1,200 a month? Or do I go back to
No.
No, yeah.
my full
You
retirement
collect
age?
that new number,
My
right.
new number follows me till I'm.
Yes.
Plus the cost of living adjustment.
Yes,
every year.
it does.
Right,
Okay, thank you.
right. Okay?
Thank you.
No worries at all. All right, so Ron and Nancy, and this is a common, so you'll see oftentimes in a marriage, the husband may be a couple of years older than the wife. Sometimes things are changing, but oftentimes over the last 50, 60 years, it was the husband that made more money than the wife, right? So this is a common scenario. If Ron is 60, Nancy is 58, the life expectancy for Ron, since he is already 60 years old, is 85. For Nancy, she's expected to live longer, right? Hers is 90. If they were both to start their benefits at the age of 62, their monthly benefit for each of them would accrue until they passed away at the age of 85 and then 90, $1.65 million. All right?
That's what they would have collected.
Okay?
They turned it on at 62.
Ron and Nancy, in the second scenario, if they actually waited till the full retirement age, you'll see that the monthly benefit bumped up. The life expectancy is the same. They started the benefits at 67, which is clearly 5 years later, but because of their life expectancy and the amount of years that they both lived, they passed that threshold, the break-even point, and ended up making collecting $1.944 million. Same couple, same scenario. Now they waited till they were 70. They got that 8% bump each year, right? Monthly benefit increased dramatically. Their cumulative value of the benefits is $2.126 million. So it's over $400,000 more during that lifetime, and it's over $200,000 than if they had done it at their full retirement age. So you can see it's a dramatic difference. This, again, it is a one size fits one. It's not a one size fits all. This is purely mathematics of this couple, life expectancy, and this is how it worked out for them in particular. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? When Social Security was enacted, right, it was meant to kind of compensate for about 40% of what you were earning until you started to take Social Security. So it was not meant to be 100% of the money that you're getting in retirement. However, recent statistics are showing that single women or widowed women, 40% of them are relying 100% on Social Security in their retirement, and 30% of married couples are also reliant 100% on Social Security. So it wasn't meant to replace all of the income that you have, and it's only one component of a comprehensive retirement plan. A very important other aspect of your retirement is taxation. And John, and volatility as well. John and Luke are going to talk more about taxation and then volatility. Are there any other questions that we have here? All set? Now, again, John mentioned earlier we want it to be interactive. A lot of people aren't always comfortable asking questions in a group setting. So afterwards, if you have questions, or you can always contact us afterwards and set up a meeting to discuss questions. Okay? Thank you. John?
Good job. Here, this is, so, you know, Social Security, while it's not a sexy topic, it's a really important topic because it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in your income throughout your lifetime. And the reason why Ted said, you know, it's interesting to talk to your doctor about it is because you have to factor in health, okay? You know, if you lead a healthy lifestyle and your doctor says to you, there's a really good chance you're gonna live to life expectancy or longer, and you have longevity in your family, and you can afford to wait to turn it on, you should definitely do that. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you don't, if your doctor says, they know your health better than you probably, and listen, you just have some issues, health issues that you just have and there's nothing you can do about it, then maybe turning it on earlier is the best situation for you. So it really depends on your situation, right? And I always encourage my clients, ask your doctor, what are the odds of me living to life expectancy? If they say they're really good, then you have a lot of options. If he says, nah, you have cancer, you have this, you have that, or you have a past history of that stuff, then you gotta really make a decision as to what's right for you. Now, if you wait till 70, and the doctor says you're in great shape, and you wait till 70, and God forbid something happens the day after you turn it on, hit by a bus, plane crash, whatever, you can't factor that in. You can't plan for accidents and things like that. But you can plan for your health and factor that into your equation, okay? It's a really important decision because you don't want to leave, you paid into this thing all your life and took a lot of money out of your salary. You want to make sure you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. That's part of educating and empowering people so you can make better decisions with your hard-earned money. And the next topic we're going to talk about, you saw on the show I was talking about earlier, taxation on your qualified plans. Who here has a 401k, IRA, 457, TSP, a tax deferred account? You put money in, got a tax deduction for it, you have this big pot of money, and you're going to wait till later on to turn it on, and you're going to pay taxes later. Who has that? I mean, everybody in this room should have that, right? We don't contribute to a 401k. You don't put money into a set plan if you're the sole proprietor. Everyone's been brainwashed into thinking, put money into these plans, you're going to pay no taxes on the growth, it's going to be tax deferred, you'll pay the taxes later when you're in a lower tax bracket. That's what we were all told in those 401k meetings. And the reason why I know that, because I was part of the problem in my earlier years. My dad and I went around to small businesses, body shops, pizzerias, 20 employees or less, not big 8 corporations. They had the plans in place. The little guys didn't have these plans. So we went in and put in 401k plans and got these people to invest and put their money in to retire. And then when people started retiring in our practice, we had to start learning about what are the things they should be doing in retirement. And one of the things we realized was they're going to be paying more taxes than we told them, because we were told the same thing that they were told. Put the money in, you're going to be in a lower bracket later on. I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when people come into my office every day, I ask them, are you in a lower tax bracket than you were when you were working? Absolutely not. They're either in the same bracket or they're in a higher bracket, right? And that's why we titled the next segment, Income Tax and You, the Tax Train. When you see these numbers, it's a little crazy. Our country to this day right now is 35.4, it changes every second of every day, $35.4 trillion in debt. Our government doesn't make any products or services. All they do is collect taxes on income. So if they're going to service this debt and get rid of this debt and not bankrupt our country, what are they going to have to do to tax rates? Who thinks tax rates are going to be going down in the next 10, 20, 30 years? Tax rates are going to have to go up, right? So let me ask you, if you're a politician, what's your number one job in politics? Is to do what? To get reelected, right? So if I sat in a room of the people and said, I am going to increase your taxes on your income, everybody in this room, who's voting for that politician? Nobody. How much money do you think is sitting in these 401k plans, 403b, IRA, all these tax deferred accounts? How much money do you think is sitting in there? $40 trillion. So if you tax or increase the taxes on qualified plans, which is for the rich people, I could sit in that room if I'm a politician and say, I'm not going to raise any of your income taxes. We're going to add another tax to a qualified plan distribution with a stroke of a pen. I started in this business in 1986, a long time ago, right? Back then, if you remember, there was an excise tax on distributions from qualified plans. It wasn't just federal and state. There was also a third tax called the excise tax. in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, right after I got in, the Congress did away with it because they wanted to, for whatever reason, they did away with the excise tax. So a stroke of a pen, they got rid of a 15% excise tax. They can go around and tell people, I'm not raising income taxes on anybody. We're gonna tax the rich. Haven't we heard that statement all the time? Tax the rich, make them pay their fair share. Well, if you've got $1 million IRA, guess what? They consider you rich and you're gonna pay your fair share. And I can see a politician, I can see this happening. I don't know for sure, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I can see a politician voting for a plan that's gonna say, we're gonna add taxes, more taxes to qualified plans because there's $40 trillion of untaxed money. I can see that happening. So tax rates are gonna be going up. That's how much debt we're in, and if you all raised your hands about a 401k IRA, you guys have a bullet or an X on your back, a bullseye. The IRS is coming, okay? And you need to plan for it, okay? So we're gonna throw some numbers out here tonight that are probably gonna shake you up a little bit. Where do you think tax rates are going, lower or higher? Everybody in this room kind of said higher. I talk to CPAs and tax attorneys on a regular basis dealing with clients. And we deal with older clients, you're dealing with these people, right? I ask them all the time, where do you guys think tax rates are going? Through the roof, through the roof. We know, and I'm not getting political here, we know if one party gets office in November, they're gonna let the tax code expire and tax rates in every bracket are going up 3%. If the other group gets in office, they're gonna let the tax rate stay for now until we figure out how we're gonna pay for this debt. So tax rates are going up, it doesn't matter who's in office. We're not getting political, it does not matter, okay? $40 trillion of untaxed money, $36 trillion in debt, easy place to go after money. So I did this show, you saw it before, before we started the program, I was talking about taxes on qualified plans. So let's talk a little bit about what are your options. Now, I have this $1 million IRA, let's talk about that. Whatever your balance is in your 401k or IRAs, it doesn't really matter, but it's easy math for me because I'm not that smart and you don't have a calculator with me, but let's say you have $1 million in your IRA and your tax rates are 30% right now. Your income tax rates are 30%. You guys know you don't own that $1 million. IRS owns 300,000 of it and you own 700,000 of it. And they didn't put they didn't put 1 ounce of effort or take money out of their pay or forego a vacation, did without, because that's what this generation did. We saved our money, we did without, we didn't overspend like the younger generations today. Just put on a credit card, we'll figure it out later. No, we saved our money. IRS didn't do one thing, and they're gonna basically invade our accounts. So what are your options? Well, you can do nothing and continue to defer your taxes and wait till age 73. You guys know what that age is? What age 73? What happens at age 73? It's called the required minimum distribution. For most of our lives, it was 70 and a half, right? Then 2 years ago, they changed it to 72. Then they moved it to 73. And in 2035, it's going to 75 because we're living longer. So they want the counts to grow a little bit more, so they'll collect more taxes out of it, okay? So we can continue to do nothing, or we can pay what we call pay the taxes that are in place right now. We know what the rates are right now. They're the lowest that they're ever going to be in our lifetime. So why wouldn't I think about take some money out, pay a little tax, put it into a tax-free account called a Roth IRA, and then it's going to grow tax-free, and then all the income I'm going to take out of that money is tax-free, and then all the account balance that goes to my kids and grandkids when I die will be tax-free to them. Wouldn't that be a smart thing to even consider doing? Nobody's been doing that. We have clients coming in here in our office. No one's doing Roth conversion analysis to see if it's a smart idea.
Well, because it needs to be an analysis.
Well, that's right. So that's what we're here to tell you we're going to do. So let me give you some numbers, okay? I'm going to give you some numbers. We used to put it up on the screen, but the numbers are so small that it was hard. So I'm just going to read you the numbers. And then I'm also going to announce, we also built a website You can actually put your numbers in and figure it out. I'll go over that with you in a second as well. So let's say you have a $500,000 IRA and you're 65 years old and you're going to earn 7% on your money. You don't have to do anything for 8 more years. 73 comes, the RMDs kick in. So you listen to the IRS, you tax deferred it, you kept it going, you didn't touch any of your money, and at 73 years old, your IRA is now worth $860,000. The 500 grew to 860. But now you're 73, and the IRS says you have to take out $34,781, no matter what. It has to come out. If you're still working a part-time job, if you have a pension plus Social Security, add up all these numbers and then add 35,000 to it, and that's your taxable income. You're not going to be in a lower tax bracket. You're going to be in the same, if not higher, tax bracket. And if the tax brackets go up, you're going to pay more taxes on that money. And let's say you continue doing that strategy until you live to age 90. At 90, your RMD that year is $92,000 at 90, because your IRA is still growing, you still have it invested, still growing, your age is, you're older, so the distribution is more, you pulled out $90,000 at 90. You would have pulled out $1.1 million out of that IRA. At today's tax bracket, 24%. It's $264,000 you would have paid to the IRS in your taxable distributions. But that's not the end of the story. There is still $1,029,000 left in that IRA. That's going to go to your kids, your grandkids, your non-spouse beneficiaries, because you're not here anymore. You're going to leave it to somebody, right? They have to pay taxes on it when they get it. It used to be that a non-spouse beneficiary could take the monies out over their lifetime. The IRS changed the law. Now it's over a 10-year period. So imagine if you have 2 kids, $500,000 each into this inherited IRA. They have to take out over a 10-year period. So let's just do easy math. No earnings, 50 grand a year. And they're in their 40s, 50 years old. When you're 90, right? They're probably in their prime earning years. And now they got to add $50,000 in retirement income from your inherited IRA. Let's say they're in a 30% tax bracket based on today's tax rates. Your kids are going to pay taxes of $308,000 on those distributions. So when your IRA that was worth $500,000 at age 65, the IRS is going to collect $573,000 in taxes, which is more than what your IRA was worth at 65. You could do nothing and continue that plan, or we could pay taxes now at the rates that we know. So let's take a look at what that would be. And we're going to do what we call a Roth conversion. Now this person is 65 years old, has 8 years to go. At a 7% growth rate on the IRA, we can pull out $78,000 and still be in a 24% tax bracket, because the tax codes today say a married couple can take out up to $384,000, have reportable income, and still be in a 24% tax bracket. A single filer can take out up to almost $192,000, and still be in a 24% tax bracket. So we could do a Roth conversion, $78,000 a year for 8 years. We get all the money out, move it to a Roth. You would pay $150,000 in taxes, as opposed to $573,000. Now, that Roth IRA is going to grow to, because we're going to invest it still, right? We're not touching it until we're 73. We're going to invest it at that same 7% growth rate. It's going to grow to over almost $900,000 at 73 years old. I can now start taking distributions of $43,000 a year growing every year, pull out $1 million in distributions completely tax-free, and then pass on $800,000 to my kids and grandkids that they don't have distributions completely tax-free. What happens if the tax rates are 40% for us and 50% for the kids? $573,000 in taxes is the lowest it could be. It's probably, we all agreed, it's probably going to be way higher than that. So if you're not looking at Roth conversion strategies, tax efficient planning options, contribute to it. I'm telling young kids today, forget the tax deferred accounts, 401ks. Most companies have a 401k. There's also a Roth 401k version. Put the money in that. Pay a little bit of a tax on the contribution. Okay? Convert traditional IRA to Roth IRA. Take advantage of living benefits inside life insurance policies. You know, if you guys, there's people out there that don't need these IRAs for income. They have a great pension. They have all this stuff. They want to just pass on these assets. If you can qualify, we use life insurance in plans and pass on millions of dollars, because life insurance death benefits pass on tax-free to kids, or any beneficiary. We've shown clients millions of dollars in tax-free death benefit life insurance policies. You've got to be able to qualify for it. Now, there's a lot of different things you have to worry about, but we do the analysis. It's worth doing an analysis to see if that is in our best interest, okay? If you don't do anything, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get crushed. You guys have a bullseye on your back that the IRS is coming for. So we think it's so important that we built the website about 2 months ago. It finally went live, dpstaxbill.com. You go to that website, you plug in some information, your name, your age, your balance in your 401k or IRA, what tax rate you think you are, what interest you're going to earn on your portfolio. It will calculate the taxes that you guys are going to pay, and it'll also calculate the taxes that your kids are going to pay on these things. 2 months I've had this website live. I've gotten 175 requests. People that went on the site, ran your numbers, and have called our office and said, how can I fix this problem? In 2 months, that's how many people went on the site. dpstaxbill.com. Any questions about whether you should think about doing a Roth IRA conversion or not, or start contributing to Roth? Any questions about that? We're coming towards the end, so we're not going to be too much longer. Any questions real quick? Yes.
If you withdraw money from traditional IRA to Roth IRA, this amount of money come as your income this year.
So repeat the question again.
So if you withdraw the money from traditional IRA to transfer it to Roth
Right.
IRA, and this money will come as your income this year.
You have to pay taxes on the income. Like that $78,000 that we're going to move from the regular IRA to the Roth IRA, that's income taxable. And if we're in a 24% tax bracket, and we did that over an 8-year period, the taxes are $150,000. You have to pay the taxes, right? Now, it's better if you can pay the taxes out of your own money somewhere else, a bank account or some other investment. It's better to let the full $78,000 grow in the Roth. But if you don't have the tax money to pay the tax, then you would take the money out of the distribution amount and just put less into the Roth. Either way, it's better off for you. Either way, the math works. Okay, a Roth conversion is something everybody should be thinking about doing.
Is there a maximum, or is 78,000 the given number?
No. That's just the way it worked out in this situation. No, what you don't want to do is try and raise somebody into a 35% tax bracket. That's why we talked about you can take up to if a married couple $383,900 and still be in a 24% tax bracket.
Yep.
$191,950 in a single filer, still being a 24% tax bracket. The objective isn't to say, hey, let's take your $500,000, convert it all into a Roth right now, so you pay 40% in taxes on that conversion. We don't want to do that. We want to keep it within a reasonable number.
So when you say 300-something conversion for couple, it's per year?
Per year. And that number increases every year. It increases. So we talked about Social Security, we talked about taxes on qualified plans, and now we're going to talk about couple other things that Luke's gonna talk about. Inflation, we talk, I do inflation, I do that, right? So, another tax that's out there, right? Really quick, another tax that's out there is inflation. Everyone thinks inflation doesn't really count towards anything, right? Who believes that the inflation rate right now is 3 point whatever number they're telling us? I mean, have you gone to the grocery store? You get gas in your tank. You know, you go out for dinner. I mean, I'm under the belief that inflation is probably double digits, right? Because of where cost of living are. If you have inflation at a 6% inflation rate, your expenses are going to double every 12 years. At a 4% inflation rate, it's every 18 years. When at inflation of 8 or 9 or 10%, your expenses are going to double 8 years. Every 8 years, your expenses are going to double. If we're living longer in retirement at 65 years old, we're going to live to 90. That's a 25-year period. And if inflation is going to make your expenses double every 8 years, think about that. I have $5,000 a month of expenses. 8 years from now, it's $10,000 a month. 8 years after that, it's $20,000 a month. If you don't have a rising income plan in place to get you through retirement, you're probably going to run out of money. Where inflation is going today. So inflation is what we call the hidden tax, on top of the income taxes you're going to pay. So part of what the show that you heard before, I was talking about, you know, inflation and the cost of everything, and how that is a tax that's not really calculated. No one really factors it in. You really should factor it in. Okay, so Luke's going to come and talk a little bit about market volatility, and then we'll wrap up, and we'll be here to ask any questions.
Thank you, Dad. We decided to save the best for last. So market volatility and how that could affect you in retirement. Investing in retirement and investing while you're working are totally different. When you're working and you're receiving an income from work, you can afford to be aggressive with your investments, and you should be. When you're getting closer to retirement and you're about 5 years out, that's when you want to start shifting to a more conservative portfolio. Once you're in retirement, that's when you really need to worry about market volatility, because you can't afford to take a loss in the market and having to take money out of your IRA and RMD on top of that. Once you're 73 and those RMDs are due and you haven't done any Roth conversions, you know, the RMD doesn't care if the stock market is down, and that money needs to be taken out by December 31st. So let's look at an example of how a loss could affect you. If you lose 10% in your portfolio, it's going to take you 3.6 years at a 3% return to get back to even. At a 6% return, it's going to take you about 2 years. In the year 2020, both stocks and bonds were down. Has everyone here heard of the 60-40 balanced portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds? Well, that portfolio was down 25% in 2020 because the concept that stocks and bonds have an inverse relationship is actually a lie. Bonds are affected by interest rates. And in 2020, the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, causing those bond values to go down. So that 60-40 balanced portfolio got destroyed in 2020. If you lose 20% and you're now a conservative investor because you're in retirement, it's going to take you 7.5 years at a 3% return to get back to even. With the RMD on top of that, it's going to be basically impossible to do. So let's look at another chart, another example of how a loss could affect you. If you start with $100,000 and you lose 10%, that leaves you at $90,000. You would need an 11.1% return to get back to $100,000. You may think, because you lost 10%, that a 10% gain will get you back to even. It's actually not how it works. If you lose 25%, you need a 33.3% return to get back to 100,000, which means you'd have to take a crazy amount of risk to get that kind of return. So you just really need to watch out for market volatility in retirement. And I have one more chart I would like to show you. This is a $1 million IRA from 2000 to 2009 with 4% distributions taken out and having losses in the market. At the end of this period, this person is left with $480,000. So what happens if you live 25, 30 years in retirement? Because people are only living longer now, not shorter. So your investment philosophy in retirement needs to be completely different than your philosophy while you're working.
So as you get older, your risk has to be adjusted, okay? What Luke was talking about is, let's say your $1 million IRA in December 31st of 2021 was $1 million. IRS calculates your distribution is $40,000. 2022, because the government, Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, your bond portfolio, which you thought was your safety net investment, was down 25%. Equities were also down a little bit more than that. So the average portfolio that Luke was talking about was down about 25%. So IRS says I need to take out 40 grand. My $1 million IRA is now only worth $750,000 because I had to pull out, I lost $250 in the market because you didn't change your investment philosophy because you have a balanced portfolio. Your advisor told you you're going to be good. Don't worry about it. You're balanced. You're protected. But now when you're not taking money out, you might be able to swallow that lie he told you or she told you. But if you have to take money out, now your portfolio is down to 750, but you have to pull out 40. Now you're at 710. And imagine if that's your first year in retirement. You went from $1 million to 710 in 1 year. And the distribution, you pulled money out of it, there's less money inside the account to grow back when the markets grow back. I'm not here to tell you that the market's never going back. It does always go back. But the problem is when you're taking distributions, you're depleting your account. When you're not touching the accounts, like I said, it's easier to swallow a down portfolio because you're not touching it. It'll come back, I'll wait for it a little bit. If I'm still contributing, I actually want that. I'm buying more shares of stuff in the down market. But when you're in retirement and you're taking money out of your portfolio, you have to reduce the risk you're taking because you probably will run out of money. And that is the number one fear I get when anybody comes into my office. What's your goal? What's your game plan? I don't want to run out of money. I don't want to rely on my kids. I don't want to rely on them for any help. And if you run out of money, guess where you're going? Your kids are going to have to help you, right? So we have what we call in our office our 3 investment world discussion. Okay? Every person that comes into our office, we have this discussion. What are your options to where to invest your money? Okay? So we talk about splitting your assets up. If you guys think having your money in one of these big box firms, I won't mention any names, but if you have a statement and all of your money is in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and REITs and options and this and that, and every investment in that account is subjected to some sort of risk. You're in the third world, the world of risk, okay? And if all of your money is in that world in retirement, you're in for a really rough roller coaster ride, okay? We believe that you should split up your money. You should have some money in a bank for an emergency fund. So if I have an emergency, I'm not going to tap my wealth, my income accounts or my growth accounts. I have an emergency fund set up. 6 months, 3 to 6 months of your monthly bills in an emergency fund. Then I want to have some money in what we call safe money accounts. That I don't care what the market does. I'm not going to lose anything. My principal won't go down. There are safe money investments. Banks offer them. Insurance companies offer them. Annuities, CDs, money market account. There's a lot of safe money options out there so that some of your money is not going to go down. Then I have some of my money in the growth bucket for longevity. Because we just talked about living 25, 30 years in retirement. I do need some money in longevity and growth, but I know I'm not touching that money for 10 years or 15 years down the road. If all of your money is sitting in the growth bucket, you're on a roller coaster. If you split your assets up into the 3 different investment worlds and different tools that some can't go down, you can allow that money in the growth bucket to recoup because you're not touching that account. We have this 3 investment world discussion with every person that comes into our office when they become a client. How are we going to invest your money? What is the purpose of your investment strategy? Do we need to create income? Well, then let's look at the tools that do that. Do we need to create safe money? and have some growth money, what are the tools that do that? And that's what a fiduciary does. A quick example, I know we're about 5 minutes over. A licensed fiduciary, here's the definition of a licensed fiduciary in an analogy. A licensed fiduciary is Home Depot, okay? You go into Home Depot and you need a hammer to hang a picture on the wall. And you go to your big box firm company and they sell you a 20-pound hammer. That's a suitable recommendation. You asked the advisor for a hammer, they sold you a 20-pound hammer, they will never get in trouble for that. You asked them for it, they sold you. A fiduciary, if you complained, will probably get fined for that because we're Home Depot. My job as your fiduciary advisor is to say, hey, you need a hammer? Let's go to aisle 20. I got hammers that are a pound hammer to sledgehammers. Let me ask you some questions. Any orthopedic issues? Any heart condition? Any surgical procedures you've had? Give me your medical history. Let's find the tool that you can actually use to hang the picture. Let's find a hammer that fits you. That's the fiduciary standard of an advisor, not a suitable broker. I'm getting fined for selling you a 20-pound hammer. So our job on your team is to say, hey, what's the purpose of our job? What are we trying to accomplish? Income, safe money growth, longevity, aggressive growth, whatever. Let's find the right tools that fit your specific situation to make the plan work for you. That's what we do every day at DPS Advisors. So with that, we're about 7 minutes over, so I apologize for that, okay? We're gonna offer every person in this room, you came in, you took the time out of your day to come here on a Tuesday night, didn't get a bottle of water, we gave you some pads and a pen, and you're entitled to come into our office, and I promise you it's a stress-free environment. You don't have to do anything with us. Come in, let's have a meeting, and let's talk about why you came here tonight. What prompted you to come to Roseland Library to listen to 3 guys talk about retirement planning? Because there must have been something, because we didn't give you a steak, right? So come in, spend a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever. It's going to be stress-free. You're not going to be sold anything. I promise you that. We're not selling anything. We'll just talk about why'd you come. Let's analyze where you're at. What are you trying to accomplish? And a licensed fiduciary will also tell you that if your current investment strategy is good, I'm going to tell you that. And then you're going to go on your merry way, have a second opinion, no harm, no foul, no stress, no obligation. So we're going to offer everybody here that opportunity. Luke and Sue are outside. They have our calendar. You can make an appointment. We're right on Eisenhower Parkway in Roseland if you choose to. And come in and spend half hour, 45 minutes, and let's see if there's anything that we can help you with. So with that, we're going to be here for questions. I know we're a little over time, so we're done. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate the time you guys spent out of your time to get here. I understand it and acknowledge that. So I'm here for questions if you have anything. If not, you want to make an appointment, our calendars are there. I encourage you to do so. It's stress-free. You'll get a second opinion at least. Thank you.